Sheila here with Sirius Dallas Moon, and this is Moon Hour, Mars Day, and the Moon is still in the middle mansion of Leo, which is that lunar nakshatra that's connected with Amber. And Amber is a part of those things that curate wounds. They curate the wounds of trees. And Mars Saturn square is the fact that I had a recording and there was an old lady that tried to ask me a question, and I'm so focused. I have such a warrior, intense hunter focus that I couldn't even answer her. Like normally I would just go like, hey, and so on. I would have a relaxed focus, and now my focus was so hunt intent that I couldn't even answer her for my life. That is just how intense this Saturn Mars increased by Jupiter and Saturn increased by Jupiter. And yet, almost each and every one of us astrologers, including the people that are at the top about electional astrology, launched something today. Okay, each and every one of us had a podcast episode launched today, or a talisman launched today, or I made my lip balm yesterday, which was like, I was just looking at the chart and I'm like, but why am I doing that? And yet, that turned out what it needed to be. And and this is where my next episode is about. It's about Pluto in Aquarius and about the fact that both Aquarius and Saturn, you'd be surprised, but a part of Saturn is not selling your soul. And the hardship of people that don't sell their soul. I talked about the sacred rage of Mars and Venus and a representation of night charts, but also about the cohesive union, about looking at Venus from the perspective of cohesion and truth, and how for something to be benefic, okay, even from a Jupiter perspective, we see how Mars is needed to sever ties with the unjust, not necessarily severing a union, but actually allowing a true cohesive union to be and be preserved if it is true cohesive, and to be formed, and to sever ties with something that, had everything been not corrupt, maybe wouldn't even be. Okay, we talked about the way they use trafficking to make it look like it's a third party, and the amount of trickery that they do. Oh my God! If it's a person that someone knows, that they would make it look like it's not that person. Okay, if it's person that somebody doesn't know, then they would present themselves as single. If it And anyway, they kidnap and torture people. So it's kind of like so many things. And here is the thing about today's big, big, big Mars Saturn. It's not any Mars Saturn square. It's Mars Saturn squaring in Jupiter's domain, when Jupiter is ruled by the moon, and the moon is in the sign of the sun. Fortunately, in a lunar mansion that is very curative, very healing, it allows us to deal with the sap. We think about when the tree is cut and the amber pulls in. Okay, the amber forms. What's inside? What's inside that amber? All of the inflammation, all of the things that violated the sovereignty. Wait a second, that person had so much potential. Why are they at the side of the road recording videos in between train? Well, they address the things that no one does. They address the things that get the Aquarians say, oh my God, this is the black swan. They address the things that make Aries feel like it's not elegant to do and talk about that. And here is the thing, each and every one that's probably encountering that is also having this seed within their own. This is why so many of us astrologers launched stuff and posted stuff and had special, episode podcasts. Because normally when Mars squares Saturn, it's kind of like, well, it's a constructive debate. It's good for refining. It's good for delaying. It's good for holding the action and refining the action. Each and every one of us, top astrologers, world-renowned astrologers, posted something on that square. They're like, why? Because the seed of tending to what needs to be resolved is within all of us. And a part of the things or the energy reading that is coming up is the ruggedness, the lack of refinement that comes with tackling the real things. Okay, if you think about the Saturn as the ruler of Capricorn, and Capricorn is climbing the mountain. Okay, if you climb the mountain and you're not well equipped and you're doing it haphazardly, you're going to be a part of the skulls and bones that are going to be, you're not even going to be a warning sign because you're going to be so covered up in snow that nobody is even going to know that you tried. And yet, if you make a projector and paint the image of you on the top of the mountain, having climbed the mountain with all the right equipment and all, it's going to fool the masses, but it's not going to stand the test of time. Another person that, a lot of people know astrology and they're going to pop up. Shout out to Kyra Ryberg. Wait a sec. They're all going to pop up. No, it's that black lady that moved to Thailand. No, I don't see this episode now. And she talks about the influencers that sell the get ready with me stuff, being so bombarded by the fact that Pluto is direct in Aquarius. So first of all, we're going to have a sudden, it's going to, oh, this person is astrologer too, this person is astrologer too. Yes, if they were all, it's the kind of thing that it was less shameful to watch trafficked children pretending that it's okay with them to be in porn than it was okay to read an astrology chart. Notice that when Pluto is in Aquarius, we address both the trafficked children and then all kinds of astrologers pop up and I'm like, oh my God, you know about Pluto turning direct. Oh, you know that Jupiter is exalted in Cancer. That's more than Mercury retrograde. You get a cookie. But it's also about the fact that the rugged, that which doesn't seem refined, that which doesn't hold the flair of elegance. I'm not saying that it's always the truth, okay? I'm not Mark the truth, the truth. Okay, I'm not saying that the rugged is always the truth. I don't call us to be fooled by form. But I am saying that there's gonna be a lot of transitions from the image of refinement to what actually is. Think about when you watch a travel video, and it can be of the most beautiful place in the world. Still, if you're gonna see, I haven't seen the Northern Lights in person, something I still need to do, but probably you're gonna see the Northern Lights in person. They're probably gonna be amazing. They're probably not gonna look like all those filters either. And it's not just about form. It's also about what people call the rite of passage. If you had to rape children or comply with the degrees that in the highest degrees, whether it's 33 or even I saw 35, actually around this transit, the first time I saw 35, okay, those who know, and those who don't, you're not missing anything. In fact, those who know are very happy that they only know from the outside, because that from the inside means one, okay? But in the lower degrees, they make it look like one thing, but from the lower degree, one is accepted to comply with what's happening in the 33s and the 35s, and that's the rape children that compound to being a genocide that later is compensated for by charitable dividends from the genocide. That one anyway cannot get equity of without being complacent with raping and torturing children en masse. Now what that does, it means that it's not that the people that went through this so-called rite of passage that I just described, what do they consist in essence? Okay, and in essence, it doesn't mean that the first rite, the first, I did first degree. I didn't rape children, but to have actually something that would be coming to fruition in equity, in opportunities, and so on, then I would need to comply with that. And that is indeed what accumulated to the Me Too, where I took a break from academia because of that. And because it was so much dissociation and also so much seclusion, because it's not even in the people, even the people that went through abuse, they're so dissociated. And so, but it did look like going to the classes of people that say that, oh, the Masons were persecuted because they were a secret society, and then, they blame this person for being child rapist, so they get rid of him. And I'm like, it's not wrong, that's how extortion cults work. But wait a second. What do they do to actually abolish this child trafficking stuff? And now the people that don't have the so-called rite of passage, of course there are some things that they're going to be phrasing differently, because their wording, their language, their terminology is not going to be the insider's terminology. And when they do come to be exposed to the information, they're not going to see it the same. Okay, I talked about previously that as a night chart, I felt very misrepresented, that the people that did talismans in a way, in a form that was close to what I learned, let's say in aromatherapy, then they were day charts. And it's like people talk about Venus, and it's like they don't even seem to understand Venus. And I'm like, they're not bad astrologers, they're just day charts. Just the way I can talk about Jupiter's cohesion and so on, but most of the day charts will talk to you about Jupiter's choice. Why do I say cohesion and not choice? Because I'm aware of the lack of access to choice that ritual abuse perpetuates. If the hemispheres are severed, where is the access to choice? That's a language that Saturn nervous system can understand. It's not comfortable to deal with, but it's actually a Saturnian thing to do. And so, just in that way, the rite of passage is something that when people actually look at the science, this is something completely different. The first time I saw a lady from Denmark, and she had a short where she was going to her lab, which was in the ice in the Arctic. They were testing how the Arctic icebergs, okay, from underneath the ground, how they move, because the earthquakes there are the tsunamis and many other things, okay? They were testing to see what is the dynamic form of the Arctic tectonic plates. And she said every time, every year, she has to go deeper to her workplace because the snow amounts. And I'm like, well, but they talk about the Arctic melting. So are we losing the ice or are we having more ice every year? Nothing could teach me that with the rite of passage, but seeing a YouTube short could. Because if I had to learn this truth from the rite of passage, there would be many raped children. Many people raped astrally so that people can't see it with the sensors that we are translating to our eyesight spectrum, but astrally they would. And they can't say it. It's not science, it's pseudoscience. Because if we said that, then nobody would buy the stories that people are told about wars and why are they being fought and who fights them and under what guise. Behind every Epstein list, there are many people that are the consciousness that rape the children at that time that are not necessarily the origin consciousness of the person that rapes the child. Doesn't mean that that person wasn't raped, because that makes them more susceptible to mind control. But to get back to sovereignty becomes exponentially more difficult, particularly when the rite of passage necessitates an oath that they would be decapitated, raped, and tortured and murdered if they talk about what they had to do and what they see with the rite of passage. That's not just the abnormal genitals. Now here is the thing. For those inside, they can't say it. So they have elegance and they have resources and they can tell you, to the detail, to the deacon, to the bound, to the turn, to the degree. But they can't really say it. And those that can, they will look at every term, every degree, every bound differently. Because they didn't go through that rite of passage. So they're in contact with a different perspective of that cohesive truth. It's just like now when 2030 is up and they want to try to include women in religion because they understand that for global religion they can't really do away with women, so they try to have some women, so they bring up all the feminine female dragon, and she's been repressed and she's been demonized, and all of that is true, but it's still gonna have to deal with the trafficked children. And this is where we're seeing the picture that it's not that people are not capable of being refined or capable of being elegant and so on and so forth. Is that the person that's broadcasting from their phone, because the previous two were gestolen, because they were tending to something that risked their lives, and other people were afraid that their neck is risked. It has to do with, abolishing child trafficking. It connects with political assassination. That's not going to be the well-lit, enclosed, almost ritualistic, supposedly sacred space. Who is in touch with the spirit of the times? Both. Those that were through the rite of passage, they see what's happening, they see what's being planned, and they try to give out clues. And those who are outside, they see how things were explained in a way that is biased and corrupted by the complacency with the abuse of children and the rape under the guise of whoredom. They rape and they call people whore. So many youth, so much youth, in many emergency centers for youth. Gang rape boys, girls, and everybody participates in calling the raped whore. And that's a rite of passage. And they tell the parents, this child, he will do everything, she will do everything to get away. Don't listen to what they say. And the parents believe, because, oh my God, they smoked weed at school. And then when the children jump off the buildings, everybody's too ashamed to face that. So they make it a personal tragedy. And this Mars-Saturn is showing the ruggedness. I talked about the sacred rage. The sacred rage is not elegant. And the people that did not go through the rite of passage, I had a very pissed therapist that on my Facebook, and she said to me, I am so pissed at all these people thinking that therapists that didn't go through the rite of passage, through the academic institution, are not real therapists. And there's so many people I know, I've helped myself, I've helped so many people. And I'm like, darling, you didn't mention the important thing, that the rite of passage took the rape of children. And complacency with that. Now, if you are just complacent, then you can do therapy, but not to be a real therapist. If you also raped children to cameras, now you can be trusted and be world-renowned in whatever you do. People will still try. You will still have to work hard. You will still have to fight for your life. There will still be campaigns on your reputation. But you have the rite of passage that they can't take away from you without exposing themselves. Or other people show it as humiliation rituals. Humiliation rituals are not something that someone consents to. But there are people, and I saw people, I'm not going to name names, but I saw people trying to normalize humiliation rituals as a rite of passage of the people that weren't born into to a certain type of bloodline to be in rooms. They don't tell them that they would be sacrificed in these rooms, and the people that advocate this as something that they need to do to be there and not here, don't tell you that the there is where they sacrifice their viewers or their people that would listen to this type of advice, and they could connect them with a ritual that is humiliation ritual where they would be raped, burned, and sacrificed and sometimes even eaten. Over equity, real estate, and then of course nobility obliges. Now the people that are naive, they watch nobility oblige because all of us want to believe in the benevolence. And benevolence is there, is true, but we still have to deal with what that entails to have the rite of passage. So that something can be and stand the test of time. And be real and authentic. Not ignorant of, not posting a facade being complacent, not participating in the ritual of trafficking, raping, torturing, almost assassinating, and sometimes assassinating, and maybe even eating. And then saying they were whore, they were third party, as a rite of passage. They were heretic. It's not that they're not going to survive and sustain. It's then the food will not be nourishing, you know. Even within their own scriptures. The first chapter I ever opened of the Christian Bible was of Jesus cursing the fig tree. And I was like, why Jesus cursing the fig tree? I thought he was turning the other cheek. And that was a metaphor. Because he said that the fig tree will not bring fruits anymore because its fruits are not good. Why the fruits are not good? Because if they raped the children, then the children had to rape, then they had to comply. You see, we spray this, then we conserve this area, then people won't live here, then we put real estate and agrarian things in point of lack, and then we raise the market prices. People are gonna, you know, people die, you know, people, you know, people. But at least, and then yes, we can revive the soul. Now this thing is fucking polluted. And we grow our food on it. So of course the fig tree did not have good fruits. I don't know why Jesus cursed it to not have fruits or whatnot. That looks like castration. But the essence of that is that yes, those things, of course, they affect basically our survival. We'll have the biggest fruits. Really, I saw local produce. I saw pomegranates the size of my head. Oh shit. Wait a second. Did I miss the train? It looks like I missed the train. That's such a Saturn thing to happen to me. No, because it's not supposed to launch yet. Is the train sailing? Oh, there we have. Okay, need to get up on the train. The train is sailing. Okay. Nice and isolated so nobody will complain about the noise. But you see, it is just like that. The fruit is going to be looking so beautiful. Like it's artificial. And guess what? It will be. And this is all a part of this rite of passage, the certification. There's a way to do things. You have to go through this rite and that rite and that rite and that rite. And until there's not a baby tortured for the rest of their lives, there's no passage. Now I have to look for something with you. What is sacrilege? I'm not a religious person. Sacrilege meaning disrespecting or violating something considered holy, sacred. Yes, like raping a baby, like raping a woman and calling her whore. Like trafficking someone and calling them third party. Or worthy of extreme reverence, like a holy place, object, or person. If we don't understand that each and every one of us has the right to be, it's not a divine, holy, sacred. We have a right to be. To violate that, yes, is more important than to not violate person is more important than to violate the sacred of sacred of sacred of sacred of sacred of sacrileges. And until we get that, people are going to be dumbfounded with both religion and yes, and secularism and atheism. The physical misuse, theft, profanation, desecration, or irrelevant behavior was called blasphemy if it is verbal. It's essentially treating the sacred as profane. Exactly, but here is the thing. People think that by raping someone, they laugh at humanity for following, I don't know, a religion. But in that, they are exactly the same as the people that they try to do satire of by violating and doing all the rite of passage, which are basically mockery ritual, and trying to pretend that, oh, this is because it's not the origin. You just raped a person, that's the origin. It's not about sin. A generation of teenagers jumping into their death does not lie. These folks have Pluto in Capricorn. Physically vandalizing church, stealing consecrated items for secular use. All of this really is more important than not to rape. Irrelevant actions like using a religious artifact for mundane purpose. Lighting a cigarette from a memorial flame. Figuratively, it can mean showing disrespect to something highly valued. Exactly, those who traffic people, they always have those supposedly sacred monasteries. Do you know they have this place where the churches take over the places of the homeless? It would be sacrilege to alter the composer's original markings, which usually are the mark of the beast. People will not even have origin when they're unregistered births. So this is really connecting with this whole idea of the rite of passage. When everything is, how should I say it, violated from the origin, then of course there is no sacred. If they violate, if they rape, they violate that which is more sacred than any church, than any rite, than any ritual, than any rite of passage. And anybody that is okay with that under any imagined finds themselves okay with those who wait for the 6 years old to turn 9 to supposedly marry her.